about something, say, well, Allahu A'lam, I don't know. I don't know this, the answer to this question. Be humble. Be humble and say, I don't know. And he said then, patience to faith. Patience to faith is like the head to a body. He's making a similitude or an example. He says, patience to faith is like the head to the body. And patience occupies a great position in faith. Without patience, basically, there is no faith. Without patience, there is no faith. Patience on the obedience of Allah, patience against disobedience of Allah, patience when calamities fall. These are the kinds of patience. He was once asked, O Commander of Believers, describe the life of this world to us. قالوا له صف لنا هذه الدنيا يا أمير المؤمنين. He said, what should I describe to you of an abode? ما أقول لكم عن هذه الدار. Whoever became poor in it with grief. من افتقر فيها حزن. من افتقر فيها حزن. Whoever became poor in this life will grieve, right? They will become saddened and concerned and depressed. And whoever became rich would be tempted and tried. وَمَنْ أَصْبَحَ فِيهَا غَنِيًّا افتتن. When one is given riches, he will basically be tempted and tried. From where did he get that money, and in which ways he would spend it? So this is fitna, this is temptation, right? This is fitna. And then he said, and whoever became healthy would feel safe and secure. This is very true. When we are healthy, we feel like we are going to stay forever healthy. And sometimes we forget the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we get sick, what do? Oh Allah, please, cure me. Or we become humble and we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When calamities afflict us, we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are good, alhamdulillah, nothing happens, we forget, right? And we tend to be lazy and forgetful about the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only when afflictions happen. So that's why they say afflictions and trials and diseases, these are ways, to get us back to Allah. If the servant of Allah is away from Allah, Allah may make him sick and may try him with some trials and afflictions and calamities to bring him back to Allah. And this is all good for him. Allah could have just let this person, stay astray and forgetful about him, and at the end will be punished. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes wills khayr for this person. So He tries him with that to bring him back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to repent. These were one of the lessons that we learn from this life. He says, its lawfulness is subject to judgment. Halaluha hisab. He's talking about dunya still. Halaluha hisab. The things that are lawful in it, they are, subject to reckoning, to be judged, right? If one is given mal, halal, this is also something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about. So this is hisab, this is reckoning, this is judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about this money and where you spend it and where you got it from. So halaluha hisab wa haramuha iqab. And its forbidden or forbiddance is punishment. And when one commits forbidden things in it, he will or she will be subjecting themselves to punishment. So this is the wasf of dunya. This is the description of dunya as Ali radiallahu anhu was given us. Alhamdulillah. He also said the recompense for disobedience is weakness in worship. جزاء المعصية وهن في العبادة. He says the recompense of ma'siyah, the result of the ma'siyah is one gets weak in ibadah. He seldom worships. He's got weakness in ibadah. وهن في العبادة, tightness in provision. وضيق في المعيشة. وضيق في المعيشة. His provision will be narrowed, will be less, will be reduced because of ma'siyah. Those who commit ma'siyah, this is the result. This is what they are going to get. And reduction in delight. And نقص في اللذة. And he was asked, what is reduction in delight? What is reduction in delight? He said, whenever he or she gets a lawful, pleasurable desire, something will render it unenjoyable. Yani when someone, for example, even the simple thing of eating food, that enjoying food, something that is delicious in taste, and you are trying to eat it, that deliciousness is gone or reduced because of ma'siyah. You wouldn't feel its deliciousness, the way it is. Something will come interfere and make you not enjoy that food. Subhanallah. So he says, وهن في العبادة وضيق في المعيشة ونقص في اللذة. Weakness in worship and narrowness or tightness in provision and reduction in delight. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Ali that he will be murdered by the most miserable men of all. يعني سيقتلك أشقى الناس. He told Ali رضي الله عنه سيقتلك أشقى الناس. This is on the authority of Ammar ibn Yasir رضي الله عنه, the revered Sahabi of Rasulullah, as narrated in the Musnad of Ahmad rahimahullah. The Messenger said, should I tell you about the most miserable of people? Two men, the red man of Thamud, who slaughtered the she camel, and the one who strikes you, O Ali, on the corner of his head, right? Until this will be wetted by it. So he said, two men are the most miserable of all people. The one who slaughtered the she camel of Thamud, الذي عقر الناقة, أحيمر ثمود. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سماه أحيمر ثمود, the red man of Thamud, who killed the she camel, and the one who hits Ali on his head until he makes his beard wetted by the blood that will come down on his face. And this person was named Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim. Abdul Rahman ibn Muljim. He was a Khariji from the Khawarij. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam described them as the dogs of the fire of hell. Al-Khawarij وصفهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بأنهم كلاب أهل النار. والخارجي هو من خرج عن ولي الأمر, خرج على ولي الأمر. يعني those Khawarij, they started when they opposed Ali رضي الله عنه. Remember when they Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, when he was assigned the judge to reconciliate between Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiyah, and when they said in al-hukmu illa lillah, they said the judgment is only by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Ali accepted the reconciliation, accepted this, and those people opposed. Those people opposed to Ali accepting the judgment, and they were the descendants and fought Ali radiallahu anhu. And Ali defeated them so badly in a battle. I don't remember the name of the battle, but he defeated them and he killed thousands of them, those Khawarij. And this one and two others, they conspired. This one was assigned to kill Ali radiallahu anhu. another to kill Amr ibn al-As, and I believe another to kill some other companion, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And this person, he killed Ali while Ali was going to Fajr prayer. He hit him on his head, and Ali stayed 2 days after that. And one of the Sahaba entered upon Ali, and he found Ali wrapping a piece of cloth on his head, and he asked him to unwrap it to look at his injury. And he said, well, this is nothing, this is just a scratch. And Ali said, I am going to depart you. I am going to depart you. And there was Kulthum, his daughter, behind the curtain at the time, and she cried. And he said, do not cry. Do not cry. For by Allah, if you see what I am seeing, you wouldn't cry. قال لا تبكي لابنته، بكت من خلف الستار عندما قال إني مفارقكم، وقال لها لا تبكي والله لو ترين ما أرى ما بكيتي. You wouldn't cry if you see what I see. إني أرى الملائكة وفودا. I see angels coming in delegations. And he was alive before he died. I see angels coming in delegations. And I see Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is saying, أبشر يا علي, أبشر يا علي, يا علي أبشر فما تصير إليه خير مما أنت فيه. He said, cheer up Ali, for what you are going to see is much better than what you are in now. What you are destined to become is much better than what you are in now. And Ali radiallahu anhu indeed was so beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and every mu'min should love Ali radiallahu anhu, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يحبك إلا مؤمن ولا يبغضك إلا منافق. He said, none will love you except for a believer, and none will hate you except for a hypocrite. يعني لا يحبك إلا مؤمن ولا يبغضك إلا منافق. And Ali radiallahu anhu passed away on the 17th of Ramadan, the 40th year after the blessed migration of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a great companion of Rasulullah, one of the mightiest, one of the most pious, and one of the most knowledgeable of the companions of Rasulullah. May Allah be pleased with them all. May Allah bless Ali, may Allah be pleased with Ali, and may Allah reward him immensely for his outstanding efforts in serving Islam and Muslims. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بارك الله فيكم.
Because his question really remarkable.
Yes.
Those Khawarij were first in the army of Ali, right?
Yes, they were with Ali, but they were dissatisfied with Ali accepting the offer of reconciliation. So they said, "In al-hukmu illa lillah." Judgment is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not want the judgment of men. SubhanAllah.
So they want the war just to continue.
Yes, basically. They wanted Ali to be the commander of the believers, and they wanted to fight until that is accomplished. And they did not want the reconciliation. Yes.
Khawarij are the original of Shia or different?
No, they were not Shias. They were originally, they were not Shias. They were Khawarij.
Start of Shia.
They were Khawarij. their father, if you remember, came to Rasulullah and he said to Rasulullah, Ittaqillah. Yes. Their father, they are the offspring of this man who came to Rasulullah and he said to Rasulullah, fear Allah. What a strange, يعني, subhanallah. He said, Ittaqillah, فإنك لم تعدل. For you did not judge between us fairly. Rasulullah said, ويحك إن لم أعدل فمن يعدل. He said, if I do not يعني, judge by fairness, who will? And the Sahaba wanted to kill him, but Rasulullah said, do not, let him. إنه من ضئض هذا يخرج قوم يقرؤون القرآن لا يجاوز تراقيهم. He said, out of offspring of this man, there will come out people who read the Quran, but they do not understand it. يعني لا يجاوز تراقيهم. Just they say it, but they do not understand it. حدثاء الأسنان سفهاء الأحلام. They are very young people, and they have trivial dreams. Subhanallah, he said that you would see them, the way they pray, you will be envious of the way they pray, of the way they read the Quran, of the way they conduct themselves. You would think that they are the best Muslims, but they are far from that. Subhanallah. These are the Khawarij, and they will come every now and then, they will go out. And Rasulullah said that, and we see them. حدثاء الأسنان سفهاء الأحلام. They were described vividly by Rasulullah and also by Ali ibn Abi Taalib radiallahu anhu wa ardah. They were very young people, but they are ignorant of the religion of Allah, and they take the ayat of Al-Quran that were revealed about the kuffar, and they apply it to Muslims. And they basically do not fight kuffar, they fight Muslims. They fight Muslims and they do not fight the disbelievers. And these are some of the descriptions of the Khawarij. May inshallah another lecture we will talk about the Khawarij in more detail. Inshallah. Jazakumullah.
Come on, it does not have to do with the topic, but someone asked me to ask the question.
Yeah.
Some people like putting their thoughts in where it doesn't belong. So one lady asked me to ask, he has a son who is married, and his wife does not wear Islamically, you may say.
Yeah.
He wears pants and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And one lady told this woman that she's not allowed, or she shouldn't allow her son to come home with this lady because she does not wear properly. She said there's a hadith that says that you shouldn't allow your son to come with this woman until she wears properly. Is this true? Is there such thing?
What is this woman in relation to this man?
Huh?
What is this woman in relation to this boy or this young
Son.
man?
His mom.
His mom.
His mom, yes.
Yeah.
But another lady is telling her that your son shouldn't come home with his wife because she's not dressed properly. Until she dresses properly, he shouldn't come with her to the house. No,
Like
just
she forbidden her from coming to the house.
No.
Yeah.
A friend forbidden the wife of the son to come to the house while she is not dressed Islamic.
So this woman is not related to these.
She's not related.
Yeah, and this son of her friend, you mean?
Yes.
For example,
He has a wife,
Let me make it.
and that wife doesn't dress properly. And this friend said, do not let the wife come to my house unless she is dressed properly.
No.
Oh,
For example, I'm married to someone,
okay.
but my wife wears pants and so on, like
Yeah,
Westernized.
yeah.
And a lady that my mother knows is telling her that your son shouldn't come to your house with this lady until
To the
she-
mom's house?
Yes.
To the mom's
To
house.
the mom's house.
Until this lady.
dresses properly.
Yeah, yeah.
And she says there's a hadith that says you shouldn't allow your son to come.
Wallahi, I'm not aware of this hadith.
That's why she asked.
I'm not
me to
aware of
ask.
this hadith. Of course, if there's this hadith, we'll all be obedient and listen to what Rasulullah said. But if there is no hadith, then I personally don't see any wrong for for the wife to come to the mom's house, even if she was not dressing properly, because no one else is seeing her other than your mom and yourself. There are no other people who are around, are not who are foreigners to her. Of course, if there are foreigners to her, it's not proper to wear pants, especially tight pants and things that reveal the body of a woman. The dressing of a woman in general should be wide, right? And should be long and covers the whole body. Anything that is transparent or reveals the details of the body is haram. Yes. And all you can do basically is to give advice. Because nowadays, especially in this country, it is very hard to impose, right, on the wives or on the daughters if they are not willing to wear, unless you want to leave the wife. Other than that, the wife will say, well, I live in a free country, right, and I can do whatever I want. And if you, impose my she will call the police. And you say, well, my husband is abusing me, right?
Sadly.
So, Allah, sadly, this is, we live in a society of this, subhanAllah, unless you are willing to leave the wife, to divorce the wife, and find yourself a more pious wife, you will have to bear with that and just continue giving advice until, inshallah, Allah guides her.
All right. This question's related to what you just said right now.
Yeah.
I know we have 4 minutes. I'm watching the time, but try to make it quick.
Inshallah,
What you just
please.
said, it's a problem, not just for Muslims in North America or in Africa or in China.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
Yes.
So, from my experience, I've been living in the West for about 30 years, and thank God I'm very conservative with my life.
Alhamdulillah.
And I do this with my family as well. But we lack the role of the mosque or the community
Yes.
in tackling such issues.
Yeah.
And living in Hamilton for the past 9 years, do you think that the mosque should be playing more effective role in such problems? Because you just said this is growing, and either you do that or will they call the police on you.
Yes.
So where is the leaders of the Muslim community from what you just said?
Well, we always blame the leaders of the Muslim community, whereas we should blame ourselves as...
No blaming. I'm trying to say that why we can't get them involved more. So
Yes.
because most of the one that comes in over here, they don't have guidance.
I know.
And I think it's no blaming. It's like I'm as an individual, I'm working as hard as I can with my family, and thank God they are within my acceptance.
Yes.
But how come we can get the mosque and the leaders of the community more involved in such issues, because that's what makes Islam or break it.
No, certainly, Brother Hisham, I'm not saying that you are blaming, but I'm saying in general there is a blame on the Muslim leaders in general. People saying, well, the Muslim leaders aren't doing enough, or the mosque isn't doing enough. Part of that is true, but the major part, I think, which is the problem, is the lack of knowledge that Muslims have. This is the musibah. This is the disaster that we all have. The parents aren't religiously educated. They don't know, how to bring up their children according to Islam. And when we come to this country, we do not enroll our children in Islamic schools. They go to the public schools, and they learn all bad things in the public schools. They are there from 9 o'clock until almost 4 o'clock. Most of the time they are in the schools, and they would mingle with non-Muslims. They would receive secular education. They would receive no religious guidance. They will pick up bad habits. They will talk back to their parents. They will, misbehave. They will take actors and singers, non-Muslim actors and singers, their role models. They don't know about the seerah of Rasulullah. They don't know about the biographies of the Sahaba. They don't know nothing about Islam. what do you expect them to be? Even if they come to the mosque, they are still, you see how many people come to the lectures? That, if you see there's a lecture, 5 people sit and listen. Others, they don't come at all. Even from the older generation, not even our children, let alone our children. Even older generation, they don't come to acquire knowledge. So the musibah is lack of knowledge. This is the musibah. Lack of knowledge is the musibah. And that's why Rasulullah said, "Allimuhum li sab'a." Teach them how to pray when they reach the age of 7. When man shaba ala shay'in shab alayh. Man shaba ala shay'in shab alayh. Whosoever picked up things during his young age will continue to have that and will continue to embrace those traits. If you teach your children from when they were young and enroll them in Islamic schools, that will have a greater impact in mending many of the problems, or as a result of many of the problems we are facing now with our children. And we are all to blame. I'm not saying, only, we are all to blame, because the most important role I think that will have a greater impact is the mother's role. The mother's role, because the mother spends most of the time with the children. The father goes to seek provision for the family, and the mother stays at the home with the children. If the mother lacks religious education, she wouldn't be expected to teach her children that religious education. If the mother doesn't care whether their child prays or not, the child wouldn't pray, or the mother is basically الأم مدرسة إذا أعددت شعبا طيب الأعراق. The mother is the major factor in the proper bringing up of our children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all, guide our sisters and wives and mothers to that which is best. Most of our sisters and brothers, they do not acquire knowledge, they do not seek knowledge. Unfortunately, may Allah guide us all to that which is best. Jazakum Allah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. كيفك يا دكتور؟ الحمد لله. يا دكتور. أنا هشام.